Julia, welcome back to my channel. Today, it's the best video of the year. I've been waiting all year long to film my 2020 favorites. If you're new here, this is the yearly beauty roundup video where I go through all of my favorite makeup things of the year. This year, dare I say, is my favorite lineup ever. I just think I tried out a lot of really standout products this year that I'm super excited about. I hope you guys had a very Merry Christmas if you celebrated and are having a happy holiday season. I believe New Year's should be tomorrow when I'm posting this, so Happy New Year preemptively. Full details of this makeup look should already be on Instagram, and today's Dew Fairy of the day is Julia Ostland. Thank you so much for having your notification bell on, and I love your name. Now, the only good things of 2020. Alright, I organized this video in my notes by categories, so I'm going to start off with complexion. This is by far the smallest category of the year, just because, as some of you guys might know, I've been not wearing foundation for almost about 3-4 months now. So I don't have a ton of complexion favorites this year, but a few standouts I want to share. And only one of these things is something that I tried this year. The rest have been just like favorites eternally. Glossier Future Dew. Not only has this been like one of my favorite dewy primer type things whenever I do wear foundation, it's also my favorite thing to put on my skin when I'm not wearing foundation. This is my second bottle. I don't go through things very often. I'm terrible at panning things. I decided to not make a Project Pan Update video this year because it would have been disappointing. This is something I go through very quickly just because I use it for a bunch of different things. So A, it's really good as a primer, or if you're not wearing coverage, this is beautiful to give you just an all over beautiful luminous wet skin glow. I also really like this as a mixer, which kind of seems like a weird application for this, but I do find that it plays pretty well on top of most complexion products. So for example, if I have a like kind of blinding highlighter that looks a little bit powdery and just unnatural on the cheekbones, I'll take the tiniest bit of this, just shear it out onto the back of my hand, and then either using my fingers, which are like the best free applicator, or a little stippling brush, I'll just kind of stipple a little bit of Future Dew on top of that highlighter, and it just somehow melts it into the skin and even takes the most icy, blinding, weird highlighter and makes it look like the sun is simply beaming from your face. Rise and shine! It's just a very unique product and formula, so I can't really categorize it into one thing, but Future Dew. I love her. I didn't try that many new foundations or concealers this year, but I didn't really need to because I think I've just found the holy grails that work for me no matter what. And that is last year's favorites, the ABH Luminous Foundation and Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. These are not only my perfect shade matches, 210N and Almond. On the occasions that I have wanted to wear foundation, this is pretty much the only thing I want on my face. It's luminous, and you know I love my dewy foundations, but I don't want something that's gonna look like sticky on the face or feel sticky on the face. This feels almost weightless, like I'm not even wearing anything, and it does last very well throughout the day. And this concealer, I don't want to love it so much. I don't want to be beholden to something from Too Faced, but it's perfect. I just haven't found anything that blends and sits the way this one does on my skin. So this is still my prevailing holy grail favorites from last year. And then of course, to blend everything out, I always have at least 3 AOA Studio Wonder Blenders on backup. Here's my Dirty Wonder Blender.
That's so upsetting.
So you can see that I use this very often. I use it today. Why would you spend more than $1 on a sponge? It's a piece of foam that you have to throw away anyways, and this has been my favorite sponge since like 2017, 2018. I prefer the kind of teardrop shape, but they have a bunch of different shapes if you want different ones. Charlotte Tilbury with her dramatic product names. This has been another longtime favorite, but has been one of my favorites for kind of above the mask complexion. It's a beautiful subtle glow if you want a nice subtle highlighter, but because this has a tiny bit of coverage, I like going for this as a very light all over complexion base. You would think that putting something that kind of functions as a highlighter all over your face would really emphasize all the texture that you have, but for whatever reason this just smooths everything out somehow and gives it this beautiful like angel glow. And then last in the base category, we cannot forget sunscreen, very important. The Krave Beauty Beet Shield has been my everyday favorite. It is one of the best sunscreens for like sitting really beautifully under foundation if you're looking for that, but personally for me, even if I'm not wearing foundation, I just like thinner sunscreens a lot, and this is like almost thinner than moisturizer. It feels like a serum. This is thin enough where I can use the amount that I need to get the protection I need, but it doesn't feel awful on my face. The only downside is you need to use a lot, so you're repurchasing it often, but I think that's just most sunscreens. And if there's anything I don't mind repurchasing often, it would be sunscreen, because it's like the best thing you can do. Okay. I'm gonna tackle eyes next. This is just gonna be a lot of information to deal with. Ah! Eyeshadow palettes have probably been the most densely released product this year, just because most brands have been focusing on above the mask products. Plus, eyeshadow is just fun. It's my favorite item of makeup. So, a lot of palette favorites this year. These are in no particular order except for the first one, because this has been not only my favorite palette of the year, but it's my new favorite overall palette in my collection, and that is the Nabla Side by Side. I love this an unhealthy amount. Nabla, I think, has been one of my favorite brand dabblings of the year. I got to know their product line a lot more and just try a lot more things from them. The Secret palette was on the list to be in this video. That should be still an honorable mention. This came to me in October, November, and it's just perfect. So I'm wearing this on my eyes right now. Kind of subtle look, but I wanted to do a nice kind of soft glam for the final video of the year. I'm wearing Halftime, Burnt Sienna, Clan, Untitled, which is my favorite matte black in my collection, Body and Soul, Better Society, and a little bit of Cedarwood on my lids, and then Ray of Light on my inner corner. She is everything to me. I love my ABH Soft Glam, but this has truly blown it out of the water. It's only a few extra shades from what the Soft Glam already has, but I just think the variety in here, I think the shimmers in here are just a tiny bit better, and the Nabla formula, though I love my ABH, this is just a little bit more cohesive, I guess. It's still very creamy and still really, really pigmented. It's not as powdery, so I feel like it's just a little bit easier to work with. There's a gigantic mirror in here. It's just the perfect palette. It has everything I could ever possibly want in here. I wouldn't change a single shade. I wouldn't change the performance of anything in here. #1 ultimate heavyweight champ favorite here. When I think about all the products I tried this year, I would say a good 50% of them were from Colourpop, just by density. And then of those Colourpop things, I would say a good 60% of them were good. The other 40% were all Sailor Moon products. It's hard for me to pick a favorite Colourpop palette, so I have two that I want to talk about here, and they're both fairly different things. The Little Ray of Sunshine palette, also known as the Sunflower palette, because I am too lazy to say that full name. This is an all matte 9-pan palette that I honestly wasn't super excited about when I first saw it, just because I already had the Honey palette, and I was like, I don't feel like I need another yellow palette from Colourpop. I was so wrong. Yellow toned neutrals. It's all true mattes from Colourpop, which we know they hate doing. They love their micro glitter, but I think this is one of the best, most consistent formulas that Colourpop has done in a while. And I think there's a lot you can do with this palette. You can kind of go a little bit to the grungy side. Yellow tone neutrals allow you to do that without it looking too sallow or weird. But you can also do just a traditional neutral look because you have some more basic brown tones in here. Or you can do a very sunny, bright, not really grungy yellow tone look. It's just a lot of fun, and I really enjoy reaching for this. Then the Stone Cold Fox palette. I wasn't sure if I was going to mention this one in the video, just because I love this very much, but then the Nabla Side by Side palette came a couple weeks after this one did. And while there are some more warm tones in here, there is a little bit of overlap. So I would say if you bought this one already, you probably don't need this, but I have really enjoyed this just because I feel like it's added something to my collection that I didn't already have. I definitely didn't have a ton of cool tone neutrals in my existing palette collection. This not only gives you a beautiful array of kind of pinky, mauve tone cool tone neutrals, you have some silvers and grays, which I feel like is a pretty rare color scheme to find, and some gorgeous taupey neutrals as well. Formula in here is really beautiful, particularly some of these shimmers in here. Do you need both of these? Probably not, but I think some of the shimmers in here kind of replicate what's in the Nabla Side by Side, so I would recommend this if you're wanting something just slightly more affordable with a lot more options in here. This was definitely the queen of last year's best of 2019 favorites, but of course I had to mention the Jackie Aina palette in this video just because it continued to be the love of my life. It wasn't available for a good chunk of the year, so I did avoid talking about it for a while just because it wasn't available for purchase. But ABH did bring it back for the holiday season briefly in their holiday vaults, so you can still get it right now. I actually got another one for a Christmas present, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that one. I might just sell it for a discount on Poshmark because it was given to me by a family member, or I might just have a backup of this palette because it's perfection. I think this is probably the palette that I've posted the most looks of on Instagram with it. This just gives variety. There's a lot of different things you can do with this one. I think it's just a really well put together color scheme that makes sense. And truly, if you wanted to buy the entire palette just for Zam, which is the best shade in the palette, I don't condone that, but I wouldn't argue with you. I haven't really liked anything from ABH that they've released this year, with the exception of that little mini soft glam palette. I thought that was cute, but obviously I didn't need it. But who needs new releases when you have the Jackie Aina palette? I knew that I wanted to include a Kaleidos Futurism palette in this video. I wasn't sure which one though, just because I thought I was going to pick the Salmon Skyline, especially because this was released this year. The shimmers in here truly never fail to get a what are you wearing on your eyes, I need to know immediately. But I gotta say, favorite of the year has to be Futures in 3. I will forever ride for this one just because I think it's the most underrated Futures in palette. And for what? It's so perfect. It's a little bit more on the cool tone side. It's a very unique color scheme. One of my favorite shades on the face of the planet in here, which is this beautiful blue purple duochrome shift. It has a tiny bit of black in there. And this, whether it's layered on top of things or used on its own, bars. And of the Futures in palettes, they're all beautiful, but I think this is the one that gets the least amount of love. And that just doesn't sit right with my soul. I also wanted to mention the Kasha Beauty Bento Trios. These little palettes are a lifesaver for travel. They're compact, but they're also very sturdy, so I can throw them into my luggage. I don't have to pad them or anything. And I feel comfortable traveling with these knowing that they're not going to shatter in my luggage and make everything dirty, which is an underrated quality if you've ever traveled with an Anastasia palette. But these trios are just kind of my favorite no-brainer palettes to reach for because you don't have to put any thought into the look. It's literally 3 shades, so you can't really do a ton of different things with them. And sometimes I don't want the power of choice. I would recommend the ones with mattes and shimmers in them. So Chocolate Dahlia is my favorite trio. Got a champagne, a neutral kind of mid-tone brown, and then a nice chocolatey brown. I've also recently been really enjoying the pineapple one. This is the Alada Colada. I've never read that name out loud before, so just give me a second. Kind of reminds me of the Colourpop Sunflower palette, just a tiny bit, because you have a nice yellow tone matte in here, pretty like champagne, and then another chocolatey brown, so you definitely don't need both of these. And then this one does smell like pineapple, so if you don't like scented eyeshadows for whatever reason, I would avoid it, but I had to include these two. Ritz.
Bars, 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 bars.
The prosecution rests. I love our little Ritz cult here on my channel. It was completely unintentional, but I love that it's kind of become an inside joke slash the most beautiful eyeshadow known to mankind. And it fills me with so much joy whenever you guys tell me that you enjoy Ritz or literally any product that I've ever recommended. Makeup is so subjective, and what we like and dislike is very much up to personal preference, but it makes me very happy to know that my recommendations are like sometimes good. So that's it for the palettes that I wanted to officially talk about in this video, but 2 honorable mentions I didn't want to not put in the video. Felt wrong not putting in the video. The Odenzai Alva palette, this also super gorgeous, has been one of my favorite brand discoveries of the year. I can't believe I've only been using this brand since like February of this year. It feels like I've been enjoying this brand forever, but I've really loved seeing their progress this year. Plus it's very fun to be able to recommend another European brand besides Nabla. There are a lot of overseas subscribers, and I love recommending things that are easier to get. And then the Artemis palette by Alter Ego. I just love her so much too. This, for different reasons than the Kasha trios, is another kind of no-brainer thing to reach for, especially when I'm like not in the mood to put effort into blending out eyeshadows. The cream to powder shades in here. And then like the Jackie Aina palette, this I think is another very versatile palette that you can get a ton of different looks out of for one palette. So there we go. We made it through the eyeshadow palette section. And then the only other things I want to mention for Above the Mask products were some other non-eyeshadow eye things. I found my new favorite eye primer, so please excuse the Tatcha water cream packaging, but this is the Kaleidos eye primer that I repackaged into this. This has replaced my ABH eye primer. I just think it's everything that does, but a little bit better and just more comfortable on the eyes. I love this because it's very pigmented. It's not like a sheer eye primer. It gives you a lot of coverage, but it's a little bit, I'm gonna use the word, sorry, moist.
Oh my god.
It's a little bit more moist than the ABH one, so I feel like it sits better on the eyes. It just looks less thick and crepey under eyeshadow, which sometimes matte eye primers can look. It's not sticky, but it's a little bit tackier than the ABH one, so I feel like it still grips down your eyeshadows a little bit more, but gives them just a little bit of a creamier look on the eyes. It is just excellente. I will be repurchasing. Favorite eyeliner discovery. This is the Nabla Cupid's Arrow Full Color Stilo in the shade Arrow 4, which is their black. This is just the creamiest, most beautiful cream liner. And I've gotten a little bit more into using cream gel liners for wings this year. I love a winged liner using a liquid liner. That's best for getting a very nice, sharp, defined wing. I just think cream gel liners, especially when they're in this like beautiful, creamy, pliable formula, they still can look nice and defined, especially if you use the right brush, but just give a little bit of a smoky, like more sexy, effortless look. Sorry, that was weird. This is just the best liner. If you have sensitive eyes and you can't put anything in your waterline without tearing up and ruining your eyeshadow, this is a great way to go. Regardless if you're just wanting the best black eyeliner on the face of the planet, this is it. I hate to say it, I really do. The Peppercraft Darkstar Mascara. I'm a simp. Have I fallen in love with this? Yes. Have I resisted falling in love with it? Also yes. I loved how it looked when I first applied it, but I was like, you know what? It's not that different from Essence Lash Princess or any other drugstore mascara. Plus the brush kind of looks like the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara that I hate. This formula is very, very black. I love it when it's first opened as well as when it dries out, so it just stays really, really good. But the crux of this is that this has really helped me kind of wean myself off of wearing false lashes. I'm wearing them now and I wear them when I'm filming, but a big goal of mine this year has been trying to feel comfortable not wearing false lashes, especially to work and to school. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with wearing them to either place, but it was a personal thing though. For me, I started realizing that I didn't like how my eyes looked without false lashes on, and I was noticing myself feeling really bad about my natural eye shape, which is small and Asian. And I realized that wearing false lashes and kind of making myself dependent on that to feel pretty was kind of toxic. So not that it's that deep, I just really like this mascara, but I think this mascara was really helpful because it gave me volume and it didn't look like false lashes, but I feel like it's like the next best thing. It's just a really good mascara. I don't know what to tell you. This has been the year of the cream cheek products for me, so I'll start with my favorite discovery, which is Tower 28. The first thing I've talked about quite a bit, this is the Beach Please Happy Hour Blush Tint. It's just a really beautiful, kind of glowy, luminous cream cheek blush. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's luminous, but I still feel like it plays well if you do wear foundation. It doesn't disrupt the texture of the foundation underneath. When you blend it out, it still has that nice luminous glow on top of the color, so it just diffuses so smoothly on the cheeks. I've just been really into blushes this year. I apply a copious amount, especially cream blushes, especially this one. But the other favorite, I actually haven't talked about this on the channel before because I just recently got this. I recently tried out the Tower 28 Bronzino Cream Bronzer. This is the shade Best Coast and I'm actually wearing it today on my cheeks. This, I feel like, is what the Chanel Cream Bronzer wanted to be. It's slightly sheer, just beautifully luminous, has a little bit of gold running throughout it, but it's not glittery or anything. It just looks so warm and sunshiny on the cheeks. These two together is like a dream combo, but just on its own, I really, really enjoyed this. And I wasn't sure I was going to. I've seen some mixed reviews on this one, but personally, I really enjoy it. The texture, again, is just like this one. It doesn't disrupt anything that you have underneath it, especially foundation. These are so good. Another cream favorite this year is something that's been out for a while, but I just recently tried it. This is the Milk Makeup Lip and Cheek Cream Blush in the shade Work. I have a little mini, so I'm gonna go through this very quickly. The Milk Minis are like weirdly expensive. Anyways, I really enjoy this. I don't know why it took me so long to try it out. I knew that I loved the Milk Makeup Matte Baked Bronzer Cream Stick, but that's a matte finish. This is a pretty glowy blush. So here's what it looks like. It's just a tiny bit more luminous than the Tower 28 one, so I don't wear this one on top of foundations, whereas this one I feel like you still can. But this I love because I can wear this one, blend it out all over my cheeks, and it has that nice glowy finish. So if I don't want to, especially if I'm going for a more natural look, I can actually skip highlighter just because it has that little glowy component. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I'm sure you can use it on your lips. I don't ever use anything that's lip and cheek on both. It's usually cheek. I usually just use it on cheeks. This is not a new favorite. This I think was in last year's 2019 favorites, but the Glossier Play Night Shine Pale Pearl Highlighter continued to be a favorite this year. And then for powder cheek product favorites, I have a few. For bronzer, only one has really been ruling my heart this year, and that is the Fenty Beauty Shady Biz Bronzer. It's just perfect. I don't know why, I just recently started really loving this one again, because this is something that I did get last year, but I think especially because I haven't really been purchasing a ton of products this year, I've been just dipping into products that I already had in my collection and rediscovering old favorites, and this is my current favorite powder bronzer. I think it's a very creamy formula, it blends beautifully, it's really hard to overdo it with this bronzer. One powder blush favorite, and this was probably the most unexpected favorite of the year. The KVD Vegan Beauty Everlasting Blush in the shade Foxglove. Packaging, stunning. This was sent to me when they rebranded and I was like, okay, I'll try something KVD Vegan Beauty. Wow, it's really, really good. This is a more pigmented blush formula, so you would definitely want to go in with a little bit of a lighter touch. Fluffier brush, definitely, and just little tap in there and then build it up as you need rather than going with a ton, because it can be a little bit harder to blend out. But I love this because it's very, very long lasting. I think calling it the Everlasting Blush is a really good name for it, because this usually blush is the first thing I notice fading from my cheeks, especially like powder blushes, but this will be on my cheeks all day long, so it's the best for long shifts. And then two highlighter favorites. This first one, it's crazy to me that I tried this for the first time this year, because it feels like 2020 was 100 months long, because it feels like this has been in my life forever. But this was a February favorite. The Colourpop Big Super Shock highlighters, particularly the shade You're a Catch. She is gorgeous. I'm wearing her on my cheeks right now. This, dare I say it, has replaced Flexitarian in my collection. I just love it. I love having a good cream to powder texture. I feel like it just melts into the cheeks so much easier. That is such a beautiful glow. And so far I haven't had any problems with this format of the Super Shocks drying out, which I was pretty concerned about. So this was a huge favorite, and then the other powder highlighter favorite was the Kaleidos Ray Rider. This is what I call my artificial golden hour, because it just looks like that on your cheeks. It is a very nice basic champagne highlighter, but it's anything but boring. I think that's just, ugh, so pretty. And the reformulated version, though I didn't notice a huge difference, it is just a hair smoother and a hair creamier, so yeah. Definitely get it. Alright, very last category is lips. I have quite a few favorites, and they're all pinky toned nudes. Number one is the Kasha Earhart lipstick in the shade Sprung. It's just this beautiful, like, rosy terracotta, nudie pink tone shade. This is a really beautiful lipstick formula. It's like slightly balmy almost, so it's very nice and hydrating. I also think it fades really nicely throughout the day. So like some cream lipsticks like this, I feel like can kind of just look crusty and weird as time goes on, but this, it fades into this almost like sheer balmy shade, and it stays very even as it fades throughout the day. So between reapplications, it stays looking really nice. Another favorite in my quest against matte lipsticks has been the Odenzai Alva cream lip stains. My two favorite shades are Little Jasmine, which is just a nice basic neutral tone nude, and then Water Lily, this terracotta rosy, almost like orangey brownie. It's very, very unique shade. These kind of combine like a cream liquid lipstick with a gloss formula, so they're very pigmented but super, super hydrating. So if I have like crusty lips like I do right now in winter, these are amazing to go for, because my lips could be so chapped, but they will just mask the chappedness. I have been loving and using a variety of different glosses this year, so there could be many honorable mentions, but by far my favorites of the year were the Tower 28 lip jellies. Clear shade is called Chill. It layers beautifully on top of everything. So this is my go-to, but XOXO. This is the red shade, but kind of like a sheerly tinted shade, so I can actually wear this one on its own, and it's just this gorgeous wash of color. Almost like balmy formula. They're like non-sticky glosses, so these are my favorites. My favorite like natural lip product option, this is the Colourpop Just a Tint crayon in the shade Feel Good. Almost like a very, very sheer version of that Kasha color. Super sheer. This, I would say, is the texture of a tinted lip balm, but it doesn't look weird with an eye look, if that makes sense. Like sometimes I feel like if I do like a full eyeshadow look and then like lip balm on the bottom, it just looks unbalanced. This has just enough color payoff where it doesn't look like that. And then I do have two matte favorites. What I'm wearing on my lips right now, this has been like a long time favorite. The Kylie Cosmetics matte lip kit in the shade Kristen. Tastes like strawberries on a summer evening. It's just a really unique tone. It's like strawberry pink, but it's not like aggressively like pink, you know? I can look kind of weird if I'm wearing something that's too pink, but I would say this is like a warm toned pink with a tiny tinge of red and just a tiny tinge of nude in there as well, so it looks good with almost everything. And it's one of the few matte formulas I can stand. So, and then I tolerate very few reds. I have allergic reactions to most of them. This and the Fenty Beauty Stunner lip paint are like my two favorite reds in my collection. But this is the Kaleidos Ambition Lip Tonic Liquid Lipstick. It's from the Lunar New Year collection last year. I love the Kaleidos Lip Tonic formula because it's a liquid lipstick. It does dry down matte, but it's like comfortable. And it's a little bit of a thinner, almost like, it's not sheer, I wouldn't say, because it still has a lot of color payoff, especially these, so it's full coverage, but it's thin enough where it just doesn't feel like a liquid lipstick does. So this is like the liquid lipstick for the people who hate liquid lipsticks. Alright, that's it. That's it. Those are all my 2020 favorites besides this cardigan and finally dyeing my hair back to its natural color because it was so damaged. Thank you guys again for everything in 2020. I hope you guys have an amazing and better 2021. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed down below. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you made it to the very end of this video, you get the bonus meme. Happy New Year. Love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was lovely to have you this year. See you next year, or not.